Okay, welcome to Bars Everywhere. I just love that title. And it's so interesting coming on here with you guys and just tapping into that space. But also notice how this is for you, but it's like getting on here with you guys is like having no distance between any of us, which interestingly, you've all heard that we have a definition for consciousness in Access, which is not really a definition, more of an acknowledgement that consciousness includes everything and judges nothing. But how many of you kind of feel like sometimes consciousness includes everything except you? You know, except those parts of you that you desire to keep hidden from the world, or just accept those parts of you that you've got, that you judge yourself as for being wrong with, or can't seem to get right, or never seem to work for you, or can't seem to change. Well, what if consciousness includes that too? What if this is an invitation for you to get out of wrongness of you? Allow it all to be there. So we're going to see how many words I have with all of this today, but I'm also going to go with the energy and contribute that. So, what is it that you're looking for? What have you always been searching for? What have you been searching for that doesn't exist in reality? That keeps you stuck in reality looking for it? I remember when I came along to Access 15 years ago, and I'd given up looking. I'd given up on me. I'd given up on living. I didn't see a way to make anything work. And it wasn't about the things in life. I hated my life, but the thing that had me stuck was I hated myself. I couldn't seem to get to any lightness with me. I just had judgment after judgment after judgment of myself. And over the years, I've had so much change. And also I've noticed where I've still looked for that space of me in things, thinking that if I had the things like the relationship, the money, the sex, all of that stuff, that I would have the space of me, that I would be fulfilled. And it's, how many of you do that? Where it's like, if only I can get this area of my life right, I'll finally be happy. Well, what if giving up the need to be right was what allowed you to be happy? So everything that is times a godzillion, where you destroy and uncreate it all. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and poc, all 100, shorts, boys, povads, creations, bases, and beyonds. And so it's interesting bringing that up also, because a lot of people, this reality works based on either or. You can either be right or you can be wrong. You can either have or you can not have. You can either fit or you can not fit. And so it's this polarized reality that's based on either side of the coin. Which side of the coin do you live on? The right side or the wrong side? But all that is judgment. What if you allowed yourself to recognize with this consciousness, including everything, that it's not about excluding anything out of your life. It's about recognizing, where have I made this the source of my life? How many of you have tried to make relationship the source for your life? Money. Oh my goodness, if I just had all the money that I need the money, the money, the money. Anyone got the money? Everything that is times the godzillion, where you destroy and create it all. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pop, all 100, shorts, blues, povads, creations, bases, and beyonds. How many of you have also tried to do things the way that other people are doing them right now, and seeming as if you're losing you? You know, with all the stuff out there on social media and all the things that people are talking about, with here's how you need to do it, and here's how you need to create, and you need to use AI, and you need to do it this way, and all of that stuff. How many of you are trying to follow rather than asking to lead? So everything that you are doing to become a follower rather than the leader that you are. Oh, we destroy and create all that. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all 100, shorts, boys, povads, creations, bases, and beyonds. Now, what does that look like? You know, because how many definitions do we have also of what it is to be a leader? You know, in order to be a leader, again, I would need to have the money. I would need to have it right. I would need to be able to talk to people about the right way to do things, and all of those things that roll around in your head. What if you could stop thinking and start perceiving and knowing? You know, what if you could stop going to feelings and start going to question? What if, rather than having to prove you are being something emotionally, you could start acknowledging you and what's true for you? And in that, allowing yourself to be the leader in your life. So rather than having to think about everything and the right way of doing things and how do I, you know, solve this problem and do all of that, what do you know that you haven't acknowledged, that if you acknowledged it, would give you every question that you need to ask that would allow you to change it? Everything that doesn't allow it, will you destroy and create it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all 100, shorts, boys, povads, creations, bases, and beyonds. So I've been listening to a lot of the old classes on Access Me. There's a lot of the channelings of Rasputin. For those of you who don't know who Rasputin is, he is the mad monk of Moscow. He was the being that Gary channeled to bring in the information for the bars. So 35 years ago, Gary channeled a massage therapist. Channeled for a massage therapist, and he channeled Rasputin and got this information for the bars. And so there's a bunch of old recordings on there with Gary channeling him. And it's interesting to hear all of it, but also get these different awarenesses of the energies that go with these tools. You know, a lot of people ask me all the time, like, what tools do you use? What tools do you use for this? And what are the newest tools? And all of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. The tools that you get in the BARS manual, asking a question, getting present in your life. And this is, one of the gifts of access is it's about getting you to receive. How many of you are never receiving? What? How many of you are never taught to receive? What receiving is? What's receiving? What are you talking about? I give something, I get something in return. So these tools, along with that, in getting you to receive, is getting you to be present in your life. And he talks about this in a different way, where we are creating our lives continuously, energetically. Okay, one of the things that is, you've probably all heard the thing of your point of view creates your reality. And you can hear that and you're like, yeah, I kind of get that, like what I put out there into the world is what I'm getting back. Like my point of view about this is what's creating it. But in order to begin to get that encompasses everything in our world, our point of view is creating our reality, the reality that we live in, but also the world that we live in, the way that the world sees you, the way you show up in the world. So for anything that's not working for you right now, what would it be like if you allowed yourself to start being you in that area? Whatever that is. And this is the part where allowing yourself to be the leader is allowing yourself to discover what's true for you with regards to money. What's true for you with being a parent, with relationship, with sex, with how you show up in the world. Everything that is and everything that doesn't allow you to perceive, know, be, and receive it, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all 100, shorts, boys, povads, creations, bases, and beyonds. So with that, what are you unwilling to be seen as by the world that keeps you from seeing you? Are you unwilling to be seen as evil? Are you unwilling to be seen as somebody who has no idea what they're talking about? Are you unwilling to be seen as unkind, as selfish? Everything that is times a godzillion, where you destroy and uncreate it all. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all 100, shorts, boys, povads, creations, bases, and beyonds. Oh. So if you just want to pass out right now, just do that also. So the world is changing quickly. Anyone notice that? What if you didn't have to change with it, but allowed yourself to be the change for it? Because I've noticed this with myself where, like the world is changing. There's a lot of things going on in the world. There's a lot of people choosing a lot of interesting things. There's, we have wars, we have, all of these interesting things going on financially. We have a lot of institutions and politicians and all of that stuff, trying to go down one path with things. You have all of your awareness of all of this, And how many of you kind of get this sense you're being sucked down a black hole backwards sometimes? Well, what if you, again, were willing to be the leader in your life? And with this, beginning to acknowledge what's true for you. What's true for you will always make you lighter. And this is a tool that gets thrown around a little bit where people are like, oh, it made me heavier. You know, it's making me heavy, so I don't want to choose it. Well, it's not a tool that you use to justify choice. It's an awareness of what's true for you as a being. So when something's heavier for you, it's the willingness to be in question with it. Okay, is this actually something that's true for me? But with that, in questioning it, what would it be like if you had the courage and the willingness in your world to stand up for you? No matter how many other people desire you to choose something, when you know you have the awareness to create something different, what would it be like if you chose it and allowed yourself to start making those choices? Everything that brings up times a godzillion. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 100, shorts, boys, povads, creations, bases, and beyonds. So the question that I asked of, what if you didn't have to change with the world? What if you could change you for the world? And it's not even necessarily for the world, it's change you regardless. And so when any of these things come up, one of the journeys that I've been on, especially more so over the past few years, is allowing myself to recognize that if I desire anything different, I have to be willing to be that change. So this is how many of you are good at doing victim to things? Yeah, and we all do it. So again, consciousness includes everything. Okay, and judges nothing. So it's not about going, no, I don't do it. I'm never doing victim, and I'm never seeing the outside world as something that creates my life, and I'm never, doing this is happening to me. And what if you are, and what if that's okay? But what if you could begin to recognize where that shows up and go, okay, wait a minute, where am I actually choosing this? Where are my points of view that are creating this? What decisions do I have with this? And so the thing that I spoke to before about getting present in your life, what if you could begin to recognize that you are the creator of it? Everything that is, everything that brings up, and all the everything that brings up, we destroyed and created all. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all 100, shorts, boys, povads, creations, bases, and beyonds. Wow. What if the willingness to be a leader was also allowing everyone to have choice? So when you're in a relationship, or you've got your family and you've got kids and you've got all of that stuff, rather than having to see what somebody else is choosing and trying to get them to choose different, as if that's being a leader, what if it's allowing them to make the choices that they need to make? to get to whatever it is that they need to as the awareness for them. And so with that, in your relationships, with your family, with your kids, with your friends, with just everyone that you engage and interact with, what if that allowed you to have more kindness for yourself, more of that softness, that energy that you guys kind of have right now with running the bars? What if you could walk through the world like that? And how many of you would be willing to truly commit to you, commit to your life and living? And you don't even have to know what that is. Just yes. I always used to have this idea that committing to my life was saying, yes, I'm committing to my life, and then choosing, against myself. But again, it's not about getting anything right. It's about allowing yourself to make choices, but recognize, okay, that choice is good for 10 seconds. You make a choice where fight against somebody, or you judge yourself, or you judge somebody else, or you choose something that doesn't work. Okay, cool. What did that create? That choice created this. Cool. What's another choice that I have available that I'm not acknowledging? Did that actually make me lighter? Does that create the life that I'd like to create? Does that create the future that I would like to create? And then what if you didn't have to judge yourself anymore for those choices that you make? Hmm. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and poc, all 100, shorts, boys, perverts, creations, bases, and beyonds. Uh, I have the birds, the Australian birds in the background. I don't know if you guys can hear them, but it's just wow. Where have you misidentified intensity as fun, and drama as living? And it must be intense, and it must be dramatic. I must fight for it or fight against it, or it must have feelings. Everything that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it all. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and poc, all 100, shorts, boys, povads, creations, bases, and beyond. And who would you lose in your life from your point of view if you gave all that up in favor of you? If you were to allow yourself to change totally today, who would you lose from your point of view that you've been unwilling to lose, that keeps you from changing? Everything that is times a godzillion, where you destroy and uncreate it all. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and poc, all 100, shorts, boys, povads, creations, bases, and beyonds. And notice I said, from your point of view. How many points of view do you have about what it would create if you were to show up and be you? What you would lose, who you would be, how you would be seen. There's so many things that I have no idea how to put words to. What do you know about the future? What do you know about future? I know it's a weird question because you like got to think about that. You can't. Because you're like, what? Future? Oh, okay. So okay, so for those of you also who are, just showing up to access and, just beginning to get your bars running and stuff, welcome. Welcome to the weirdest ride of your life. And I mentioned that I found access 15 years ago. I hated my life, but I hated myself. And my target has always been my whole life to get to me, whatever that is. And I've looked for that in everything. So that question that I asked before about what are you looking for What is that for you? What are you looking for that you're looking for in reality that doesn't exist in reality? So with that, what if it's something that you have far more access to choosing right now than you could ever imagine? So for those things that you would like to change in your life, allowing them to change rather than trying to find the answer that will change them. What if, how many of you have been looking for a lot more kindness, but also a lot more fucking power? You know, because does anyone else see how those two become like mutually exclusive? How many of you have a lot of softness and kindness in your world, but then have been judged as being powerless? You know, and those who have power in this world are those who do anger, do fight, do drama, do intensity. And so, how many of you have always seen yourself as powerless based on the idea that kindness and power don't coexist? Everything that is times a godzillion, where you destroy and uncreate it all. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all 100, shorts, boys, povads, creations, bases, and beyonds. What if your power, what if one of your greatest strengths is your kindness for you? And let me say a little bit about that energy also, because a lot of us also misidentify kindness and niceness. They're two very different things. Okay. Niceness is about being what other people need you to be so that they can receive you. You know, I'm just nice and I'm just sweet. I'm just this nice little creature who will never do anything to upset you ever. Oh my, I'm so nice. While secretly wanting to, that's nice. Kindness is the willingness to see what's actually true, the willingness to know what's true for you, but also see what others can receive and not try to give them what they can't. Okay. Not try to make you something that you're not. How many of you have been trying to make yourself into something that you're not? And even if that doesn't, even if you can't define what that is, how many of you go, yeah, I've been trying to make myself into a people. I left my unicorn behind because I've been trying to make myself into a people. I've been doing people, I've been here doing people. Don't ask me what accent that is because I couldn't tell you. So everything that is times a godzillion. You destroy and uncreate it all. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all 100, shorts, boys, povads, creations, bases, and beyonds. What if now is the time to allow yourself to be the weirdo that you are? Allow yourself to be the difference that you are. So this energy of kindness, a lot of you have probably heard me talk about my journey with sobriety. And, 3.5 years ago, I basically had gotten to a point where I destroyed myself with addiction and alcoholism. And I had some choices to make, some really tough choices to make. And one of them was, in order to actually have kindness with myself so that I could be who I would like to be, so that I could create the future and create the world that I would like to live in. Kindness meant looking at the things that I was choosing that were creating it. So this is when you have upset with somebody else, when you know you're choosing less than, when you're trying to be somebody that you're not, it's not about judging that. What if you didn't have to judge any of that anymore? But what if you could have the kindness to go, okay, I'm choosing this. I'm choosing to create this way. And then this is where the change part, what if it didn't have to be difficult to change it anymore? What if there was no part of you that you had to keep hidden anymore? How many of you know you can be a bit of a bitch? I like saying that because you're like, no, you can be a bit of an asshole, you know. No, you can do fight, no, you can do, silly things. Okay. What if being an infinite being is about recognizing you have infinite choice? And in order to recognize that and have you, what if rather than excluding it and judging it, you could begin to see, okay, what does that choice create? Everything that brought up, I shouldn't have used the B word. uh, we wouldn't it be much easier if we could all just be honest with ourselves and just get, yeah, I know I can be a bitch. I can be a total bitch. Right and wrong, good and bad, POD and POC, all 100, shorts, boys, povads, creations, bases, and beyonds. And what if you could allow into your world far more humor for you? What if you could laugh at yourself more? Uh, so, what would kindness for you be? Kindness for you with money, kindness for you in relationship, kindness for you in sex, kindness for your body, and kindness for you with regards to your body. There's lots of people coming on. I like it. Thank you all for being here. Mm. Mm. Okay, so if anyone has any questions also, put them in the chat or ask me. So one of a really cool question that you want to have is, what am I unwilling to be that doesn't allow me to receive this? Okay, because anything that you are unwilling to be, you can't receive. So with the, money stuff or whatever's coming up for you right now, what am I unwilling to be with this? And it's interesting. I've had that question forever, but it's been showing up a lot more in the last couple of weeks with, oh, what am I unwilling to be? And it's interesting the things that show up, because how much of what you're unwilling to be is something that you have been judged as. If you're unwilling to be outrageous, or if you're unwilling to be controversial, or if you're unwilling to be too energetic, if you're unwilling to be, seen as somebody who knows what they're talking about, if you're unwilling to be a leader, how to receive miracles without doubting that they are real. Well, first of all, so we got the tool in access just for me, just for fun. Never tell anyone. Because whose eyes do you need to look through in order to doubt? Are they your eyes or are they someone else's? Yeah. Whose eyes do you need to look through in order to judge yourself? Are they your eyes or are they someone else's? Whose eyes do you need to look through to see the world as the way you think it is, not the way that it is? Yours or someone else's? What if you could start asking, okay, what's real and true for me with this? Oh my goodness, miracles. How many of you know that you should be able to change anything, fucking anything in a day at most, if not instantaneously? But how many of you know that? And you're like, yeah, but I know that, but why isn't it showing up? Well, that's part of what we're undoing with everything. Is there's this thing called cognitive dissonance, where you basically have an awareness and a knowing of what is, but then you also see what's showing up. The two don't work together. Okay, so the willingness to be a miracle, the willingness to create miraculously, to live a joyful, miraculous life and create the world that way, is the willingness to live beyond what you call reality. Where it's not about what's right or wrong or good or bad or how you fit or how you're seen. It's about, what choice do I have? What can I choose and what can I be that would create magic as my reality with total ease? And so with the how to receive miracles is start acknowledging what's true for you. If that's writing yourself a miracle list, planet that we live on is a miracle. The body that you have, miracle. You know, you ask a question and something changes, miracle. You, yeah, you, miracle. Yeah, I know. I get it. I get it. If you're going, not me. Maybe everyone else, but not me. You. Yeah, you too. So also with the one of the tools that you want to have, that you really want to have, is distractor implants. Okay. They are, for those of you who don't know, anger, rage, fury, hate. See, I'm being a good boy for the translators. Blame, shame, regret, and guilt. Obsessive, compulsive, perverted, and addictive points of view. Love, sex, jealousy, peace. Business, doubt, relationship, fear. Life, living, death, reality. Okay, 24 of them. And it's do you want to hear about miracles? It's a fucking miracle that I just remembered that. And I could say it slowly. See, miracles. We ask for them. We just say, hey, miracles, please. And then I can say all the distractor implants slowly. It's a miracle. So what you the thing with these is doubt is one of them. Okay. And when you are in doubt, you're in a distractor implant. Okay. And when you're in a distractor implant, what they're designed to do is take you from action into reaction. Okay. And you cannot create change when you're stuck in a distractor implant. They're designed to keep you in a loop, going round and round and round and round. I doubt this. I doubt this. I doubt this. I doubt this. I doubt me. I doubt me. I doubt me. I doubt me. Everything that is, all the distractor implants and everything underneath it, all the SHICU implants and explants that hold it in place, we destroyed and created them. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and poc, all 100, shorts, boys, povads, creations, bases, and beyonds. For those of you who are like, what? Get your butt to a foundation class. Okay. Because that will shatter your foundation. And as that, what would it take for you to have the money to choose everything that you desire? What would it take for it to not be about the money anymore? Everything you've done to make it about the money, that keeps you making about the money, that everything's about the money, that you have no choice because of money, and it's all about the money, and I have no choice because I have no money. Money, 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 money. All the SHICU implants and explants creating all that, we destroyed and created all. Money. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and poc, all 100, shorts, boys, povads, creations, bases, and beyonds. Okay, so with any of those distractor implants, when you go to anger, because how many of you have a lot of suppressed anger? Even that one, isn't it interesting? So let me say again, that it can be very helpful. Consciousness includes everything and judges nothing. How many of you have been judged for being angry or having anger? How many of you have tried to suppress that anger that was called anger, that may not have been anger? And then how many of you have been suppressing what you've called anger, that's actually your power and potency, that keeps you suppressing you based on your judgment of anger? I mean, it's pretty funny, huh? Everything that is times the godzillion. We made you lighter though. Right, wrong, good and bad, PUD and POC, all 100, shorts, boys, POVADs, creations, bases, and beyonds. Okay, so let me talk about that energy for a moment. Is you want to be aware of with anger that the only time it's appropriate to be angry is when there's a lie involved. Okay, so if you're lying to yourself or being lied to, ask, what's the lie here, spoken or unspoken? Okay, if you're talking to a friend and you get off the phone and you're like, why am I so pissed off right now? Okay, what was the lie there? What's the lie? Once you spot the lie, the anger will dissipate. Okay, the other thing with anger is they are very similar, almost identical energetically, anger and potency, anger and power. Okay, because how many of the times where you have just wanted to explode into being more of you, have you been judged as being angry? Everything you've done to misidentify anger as potency and potency as anger, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, POD and POC, all 100, shorts, boys, POVADs, creations, bases, and beyonds. And then how many of you have been trying to be nice to prove that you're not angry and prove that you have no power? I'm just a sweet, sweet, sweetie pie. Until I'm not, and then I'll get you. Everything that is times the godzillion when you destroy and uncreate it all. Right and wrong, good and bad, POD and POC, all 100, shorts, boys, POVADs, creations, bases, and beyonds. And then thirdly, with anger being one of the distractor implants. Okay, have you noticed when you get stuck in any of those things, like if you're doing anger, if you're doing hate with somebody, if you're in that blame state or you're doing doubt, notice you can't change anything from there. Nothing ever changes. You just go around in circles with it. What you want to do with it is all the distractor implants and everything underneath it all, holding it in place, they destroy and uncreate it all. Right and wrong, good and bad, POD and POC, all 100, shorts, boys, POVADs, creations, bases, and beyonds. That tool will give you so much freedom with those things. Okay, because they're designed to take you out of being, to distract you from what is. It's like bright, shiny thing. How many of you are good with bright, shiny things? You're just like, oh my goodness, another bright, shiny thing. Oh my goodness, another bright, shiny thing. Oh my goodness, another bright, shiny thing. We like bright, shiny things. Yeah. Yeah, but what do you love about judging yourself? You know, what do you love about that? What does that actually create? So well, let me read the question. Sometimes I perceive myself loud and noisy, and then I feel like it's something bad. Some days ago, I just wanted to spin around and see the sky, and I was enjoying it. And then it was like someone stopped me, and I left crying, and I judged myself like crazy. So, a question that you can ask with this, you know, when you have something that you say you hate that keeps showing up over and over and over again in your life, whatever that is, question you want to ask is, what do I love about this? And let me just warn you before you start with this one. Sometimes you're really not going to want to ask that question because you're like, no, I don't love it. I hate it. I hate it. I don't love it. Yeah, you do because you keep choosing it. And I've had this many times, many times with a lot of the things that I've been choosing. Okay. And once you get to that, once you get to what is, okay, once you get to what's actually creating something and the choice you're making that creates it, here's the beautiful thing. You can change anything. Okay. The only thing that you cannot change is what you keep hidden or secret from you. So again, with consciousness includes everything and judging nothing. That's all of you. What if no part and no piece of you was wrong anymore? Even the need to fit in. Everything that is times a godzillion, where you destroy and uncreate it all. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all 100, shorts, boys, povads, creations, bases, and beyonds. I like that you're laughing because you know you don't fucking fit in. Who are you looking at? Silly Billy. And how much of that going to pathetic? Now, this isn't just for you. How much of that going to pathetic? How many of you are good at that? You know, when you're just like getting to, you're just getting to some space and then boom, you're back in pathetic town. Or, you see other people creating their lives and you go into pathetic town. How many of you are good at doing pathetic? It's okay. I'm better than all of you at it. So you're in good company. Nothing to hide here, people. But I was having a conversation. Well, I was with Gary Douglas many years ago, and I was doing telenovela. He asked me, "Oh, my life doesn't work, and nothing works. I can't get it to work, and it never." You know that. That's that. And he looked at me and he said, "So I have a question. Are you doing this in order to get other people to create your life for you?" And I laughed, and I realized in that moment that it was a total manipulation, but I'd grown up around people that did that. I grew up around people that created themselves in a continuous cycle as less than in order to get other people to create their life for them. So who does that belong to? Who does your need to fit in to belong to? Who does your need to be less than others belong to? Who is the idea of who you are? Who is how you see yourself? Who does that belong to? Everything that is times a godzillion, we destroy and create it all. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all 100, shorts, boys, povads, creations, bases, and beyonds. You know what I think is funny is each and every one of us in this world is unique to a degree that we cannot even begin to fathom. Meaning there is no one in this world that is even close to you. You have had many, 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 many lifetimes, making many, 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 many choices, that has created you as exactly who you are. Nobody else is you. So where do we get the idea that you can fit? Have you ever seen a kid like just run around and just explore themselves and explore the body and explore the world and just how many of you gave that up in order to become an adult? Que más es posible? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all 100, shorts, boys, povads, creations, bases, and beyond. Oh, which is funny. I was telling this story in a video that I was doing the other day because I was like, as a kid, man, talk about just and see where you relate to this. Total fucking humanoid, just 8,000 things going on at all times. There's just so much energy. And, when I was 14, I created my first businesses. I didn't realize at the time that they were businesses, but one was doing furniture restoration. I would knock on everyone's doors in the neighborhood. You have any furniture? But everyone did, and I was restoring furniture all the time. And it was just amazing. I was washing cars, I was mowing lawns, and I was so creative. And then I started doing adult business, where everything's serious and everything's significant and everything's real and everything's about how you fit and everything's about how you're seen and all that. What if you could create your life more like the joyful, enthusiastic being that you are? Everything that brings up, everything doesn't allow it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and poc, all 100 shorts, boys, povads, creations, bases, and beyonds. And so, oh, man. We are cute. Can I ask a question related to that fit in someone world in order to keep the connection? What is it when we perceive someone else's action as if we already knew what was going to happen or what the other person was going to say or do? That's your awareness. That's an awareness of the future. That's your awareness of what is. That's your awareness of oftentimes what other people are unwilling to be aware of. Because how many of you are really good at seeing in others what they're choosing and what that's creating? But then when it comes to you, you're like, who am I? And this is where if you have the willingness to see that your choices create everything, then you don't have to walk through the world with this idea anymore that you have no power. What can I choose and what can I be that would change this? And how much can I have allowance for the people in my life that I see making choices that aren't going to work for them? How much allowance can I have for myself when I make choices that don't work for me? How much allowance can I have for myself when I'm flying high and enjoying the fuck out of myself and then I run away crying and judging myself? How much change could you create from a space of allowance? What if you could have allowance for all of those little things that you would like to be different? When you notice you judging yourself and you go to less than, or you make those choices that don't work. What if you could go, oh my goodness, I'm lucky I'm cute because sometimes I'm not bright, and have allowance for you? Wow. How have I been talking for over an hour already? That's amazing. Okay, so I'm not going to talk for too much longer. You guys are knocking me out too with the bars. Oh my goodness, this is good stuff. Okay, so let me tell you about something else that how do I? You're welcome. So let's do this also. So all of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. Okay. That tool is part of the acknowledgement of what consciousness, including everything and judging Nothing is. Okay, so all of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. All of money comes to you. Okay, all of your body comes to you. All of relationships comes to you. All the things that you try to see as wrong and bad comes to you. The wars in the world, the political insanity, all of it comes to you with ease and joy and glory. But one of the greatest gifts you want to give yourself is recognize that anything that you judge, anything that triggers you, anything that upsets you, anything that you have a need to separate from, there is something in you that you are judging. So if you want to change the world, change you. So everything that any of us have chosen or created in any lifetime that allows any of the wars, the political insanity, the lies, the control to exist in our world, can we destroy and uncreate it all? Items a Godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all 100, shorts, boys, povads, creations, bases, and beyonds. So next time you have an upset with somebody, or you notice yourself judging, or you notice yourself wanting to separate, try this and see what it creates. Everywhere I have been there and done that, what they are doing, or everywhere I'm currently being and doing it and not acknowledging, I now destroy and uncreate it all. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all 100, shorts, boys, povads, creations, bases, and beyonds. Regarding sounds, TV okay, music not okay, but if you do have in silence mode frequencies, it will be okay. Yeah, it's fine. Go with what you know. And the reason we do no music with bars is because certain musics will turn off specific implants. Okay, so then you won't get the change from the bars that the bars can create because the implants won't be activated. Okay, so how does it get any better than this? Oh, so I want to tell you guys, well, you've probably heard by now, there's some different things that we have coming up. In Mexico, I'm going to be there earlier now. I'm going to do a couple of intro things. We're going to do a bars trade on August 6th. Okay. And it's going to be, I think what we're going to do is we're going to put a romantic movie on, and we're going to get all you romantics going. And then on the 7th, we're going to do a relationship intro class. Okay. That's going to be in Mexico City. And then on the 20th of August, I'm going to do a class about the bars. It's going to be about how you can change your life, but also make money with it. So for all of you who would like to have your bars businesses and, bars sessions and be bars practitioners and bars facilitators or facilitators, that's going to be available too. Because I would really like to contribute to all of you creating your businesses and your lives also with that stuff. For those of you who are in Portugal, you've definitely heard, in Brazil, you've definitely heard by now that I am doing a foundation class down there with Ronita in August also. And two other things there's so many things we're creating right now, but there's a couple of other things. Let me tell you about this is I'm doing a telecall coming up. Some of you have probably heard I do these classes called the Idiot's Guides, which are called that because it's funny, the Idiot's Guide to. We have one coming up, the Idiot's Guide to Business, and anyone who's a BF or a CF or a facilitator of any kind or is in the choice adventure, you get it at a discounted price. And my target with that is to rock and roll with creating business. You know, all those elements of creating business as a humanoid, where it's not about doing it like other people. It's about finding your way and how you create, but also all those things that you don't want to, you know, that you want to avoid, like tax and dealing with people and promoting yourself and marketing and, you know, and creation and coming up with ideas. That stuff. So check that out too, if that sounds like fun. And I don't want to do a promotion thing. I hate kind of talking about myself, but here's one of the things I realized recently. You know how I said that question of what you're unwilling to be, you cannot receive? How many of you are unwilling to sell yourself? How many of you are unwilling to be seen? How many of you are unwilling to be phenomenal at business? How many of you are willing to be fucking seen as so successful? Everything that is, you know, I realized for myself, I was unwilling to sell. I was unwilling to be salesy because I was just like, I don't want to be salesy. You know, I just want to contribute to people. That makes it a little tough to run a business when you're unwilling to sell. So everything that is times right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 100 shorts, boys, pobads, creations, bases, and beyonds. You know, it makes it a little hard to be a prostitute if you're unwilling to have sex. Just a clear example for that. So everything that brought up, right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 100 shorts, boys, pobads, creations, bases, and beyonds. So what are you unwilling to be? That if you were willing to be it, would allow everything to show up as if by magic with total ease. Everything that doesn't allow you to perceive, know, be, and receive it, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pop, all 100, shorts, boys, pobads, creations, bases, and beyonds. So there's your little tool to play with, beautiful people, with everything that we've talked about on here. But what am I unwilling to be with this? That if I would be it, would change it all. Ah, gracias, gracias, gracias. Mwah. Thank you, beautiful people. Enjoy your bars. Enjoy you. I can't wait to see some of you soon. Oh my goodness. It's going to be amazing. Get to see you in person. And just so you all know, I'm in Australia right now, which means I'm in the future. And you're all going to be more miraculous, and your futures are going to be bold and wonderful and magical and miraculous. So there you go, because I know these things. Okay, bye, guys. Mwah. Take care. Bye.